So your ex is being stubborn. You know they still have feelings. You know the breakup was a mistake, but they just won't admit it. They won't reach out. They won't give you another shot. And you're sitting there thinking, if they could just swallow their pride for like 5 seconds, we could fix this. But here's what you need to understand. Stubbornness isn't the real problem. The real problem is what's underneath it. And if you cannot identify what's actually keeping your ex stuck, you're never gonna get them back. So today, we're gonna break down whether your ex is genuinely too stubborn to come back, or if there's maybe something else going on in the background. Now, most people confuse stubbornness with commitment to a decision. This is the first thing you want to know about this problem. They think their ex is just being prideful or difficult, but in reality, what looks like stubbornness is usually fear, self-protection, or genuine disinterest even. And here's the brutal part, you might be making them more stubborn without realizing it. Because every time you push, every time you try to convince them that they're wrong, every time you argue for the relationship, you're giving them more reasons to dig their heels in. Because nobody likes being told that they made the wrong decision. Nobody likes feeling pressured. And no one wants to admit they were wrong, especially when someone's aggressively trying to prove it. So let's figure out what's really happening with your ex and what you can do about it. But first I want to give you something practical that will help you navigate this entire shit show. It's a free reattraction cheat sheet. It's a one-page semi-illustrated PDF that guides you through my entire process from A to Z, literally holds your hand of mending a relationship, what you have to do when it comes to no contact, when you date your ex, the first reach out, how you go about it. It does all of this with keeping your respect and authenticity intact. So no manipulation, no games, just real world strategies that work based on my 6+ years of doing and giving this kind of advice now. So if you want that cheat sheet, that free download, you can get it through the link in the description below this video. But anyway, let's get to the main stuff. We need to first of all distinguish between two different things: stubbornness and certainty. Stubbornness is when someone knows they're wrong, but they refuse to admit it because of often pride. They're digging in their heels not because they believe in their decisions, but because backing down, it feels like losing. Certainty is when someone genuinely believes breaking up was the right call. So they're not being difficult, they're not playing games, they're just convinced their relationship isn't right for them. Now, how can you tell the difference? Well, stubborn exes will still engage with you. They will argue. They'll defend their position. They'll get emotional when you challenge them because deep down, they are conflicted. Part of them wants to come back, but their pride won't let them. Certain exes will disengage. They won't argue. They won't defend themselves. They'll be very calm, polite, and firm because they're not conflicted, right? Those are kind of like the most strong signs of this. These exes, they've made peace with their decision. Now, if your ex is certain, no amount of convincing will work. You need to accept that and move on. But if they're simply actually genuinely stubborn, that's different. That's workable. So what makes an ex stubborn? What makes them dig their heels in and refuse to come back even when they perhaps still have feelings for you? Well, usually it's one of three things: ego, fear, and reacting to pressure. So let's start with ego. Your ex might have made a big production out of the breakup. They told their friends, they explained their reasons, they committed to the narrative that leaving you was the right choice. Now, coming back means admitting that they were wrong. It means facing the judgment of everyone they told. It means looking weak or maybe even indecisive. So they stay away. Not because they don't want you, but because the cost of admitting they made a mistake feels too high. Now let's talk fear. Your ex might be simply scared that getting back together means repeating the same problems. Maybe they're scared of being hurt again. Maybe of wasting more time on something that might not work. So they stay stubborn as a form of self-protection. It's easier to stay away than to risk getting hurt again. And finally, there's pressure. This is the big one. If you've been chasing them, trying to convince them. Sending long emotional text messages about why you should be together, you're creating pressure. And pressure makes people obviously resistant. And the more you push, the more your ex is gonna push back, obviously. Not because they don't care, but because nobody likes feeling forced into anything. So now that you know if your ex is actually being stubborn versus just genuinely done with you, here are some signs that kind of make it more obvious that they actually are just stubborn. So sign number one, as I said or alluded to earlier, they still engage with you, even if it's to argue or defend their position. Because if they didn't care, they wouldn't bother responding at all. Sign number two would be that they get emotional when you talk about a relationship. If they were truly over it, conversations about a breakup wouldn't really trigger them as much. Sign number three, they keep tabs on you through social media or mutual friends, sometimes even. Stubborn exes still want to know what you're up to even if they won't admit it. Sign number four, they are inconsistent. So one day they're cold and distant, the next day they are maybe warm and friendly. Like this inconsistency, it often suggests internal conflict. So they want you but won't maybe admit it. Sign number five, they react when you start moving on. If they sense you're dating someone else or genuinely getting over them, suddenly they're, let's say, more present. That's probably not indifference, that's stubbornness cracking. If you're seeing multiple signs here, your ex is probably being stubborn. And that means there is still a chance. Now, what not to do with a stubborn ex? Well, here's where most people screw up. They try to logic their ex out of their stubbornness. They present arguments for why getting back together makes sense. They point out all the evidence that their relationship was actually really good. This does not work, ever. Because you're not dealing with a logic problem here, you're dealing with an ego problem, an emotional problem. And the more you try to prove that they're wrong, the more they'll just dig in to prove that they're right. So here's what not to do. Don't send long text messages explaining why you should be together. Every word you write, it just reinforces their need to defend their position. Don't bring up all the good times that you had. They remember the good times, and reminding them, it just makes them defensive about why they ended things despite those memories. Don't try to make them feel guilty. Guilt doesn't inspire reconciliation, it inspires resentment. Don't get friends or family involved to convince them. Please, this just makes them feel ambushed and more determined to stand their ground as a result. Like every time you push, you're making them more stubborn, full stop. Now what should you actually do instead? Well, for one, you need to remove the pressure entirely. You stop trying to convince them. You stop arguing for the relationship. You go silent. This is counterintuitive and it sucks and it's painful. I know, but here's what happens when you stop pushing. Their resistance has nothing to push against. The conflict disappears, and without conflict, their stubbornness has no purpose. More importantly, your absence creates space for them to miss you. It creates space for attraction because attraction grows in space by definition. So as long as you're in their face trying to convince them, they can't miss you. They're too busy defending themselves. But when you disappear, when you stop engaging, that's when they start thinking about you, and that's when they can start questioning perhaps their decision. And that's when stubbornness starts to crack often. Not always, but this is usually how it goes. Now, this doesn't mean, of course, ignoring them forever. It means simply giving them space to realize what they lost without you telling them what they actually lost. And here's the crucial part. During this time, you need to actually work on yourself, not as a performance for your ex, not to make them jealous, but because you need to become someone they'd actually want to come back. If you were needy during the relationship, become emotionally independent, become non-needy. If you were clingy, develop your own life and interests. If you were boring, become more interesting. Like when your stubborn ex finally does reach out, and they probably will, you want them to see genuine change. Not promises of change, actual visible, undeniable change. Now here's a hard truth. Sometimes stubbornness is just a cover for genuine disinterest. If it's been 6 months, you've given them space, you've improved yourself, and they're still not budging, they might not be stubborn. They might be just done with you. At some point, you just have to accept that no amount of time or space is going to change their mind. And that's not a failure on your part. That's just how this works. It's a reality. Stubbornness has a shelf life. If someone still has feelings for you, the stubbornness will eventually crack. But if months pass and nothing changes, you're not dealing with stubbornness, you're dealing with indifference. And you cannot fix indifference, you can only accept it and move on. So that's it for this video. Be sure to download that free reattraction cheat sheet that I mentioned, link in the description down below this video, along with my products like my books, courses, and private one-on-one coaching. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.